Captain Joseph Maposa was seated behind his desk with the previous day's newspaper open in front of him. He was deep in his 50s, nearly a decade Esopus years younger, but vastly more experienced in the matters of captaining and such. The two men started their careers in the same class at the police academy. Esopus, an experienced military veteran, and Joe, a naive boy. During their careers, the men formed a brotherly relationship decorated with accolades and presidential promotions, which mostly went towards Joe. Not that Esopus wasn't offered these promotions, but the limelight and the accompanying bureaucracy was never high on his list of priorities. "It was on the front page again today, Suep," said Joe, as he tapped on the paper on his desk. The morning sunlight beamed off his bald head as deep frowning lines formed across it. "And you are named personally in all these," he added. "I understand," said Esopus, refusing to feel like a child being chastised. "She was the victim's best friend. How was I supposed to know that she was a journalist as well?" His face was swollen in anger as he stared at the upside-down mention of Kate's name on the article. "I'm sorry, Suep," said Joe solemnly. "You shared confidential information of an ongoing investigation with a civilian. A journalist, no less." He stared a despondent Esopus right in the eyes and said, "You're off the case." "What?" Esopus exclaimed. "Don't do this, Joe. I'm so close. I can feel it." He held his fingers mere millimeters apart in front of Joe's face. "It's out of my hands," said Joe as he stood up. "This order has come from the minister. He and Bernard Viljoen are good friends, and they are not impressed with the way this was handled." "So you jump to attention any time a bureaucrat flicks his little fingers, is that correct?" Esopus was fuming. "Watch out, Suep," Joe said threateningly. "You are only off this case. Don't let me take things any further. Do what you want. I know why this is happening." "Are you trying to imply something, Esopus? Are you questioning my ethics?" "Ethics?" Esopus laughed. "I'm saying that your ethics have nothing to do with this. You are a pawn, nothing else." "Get out!" Joe shouted, pointing towards the door. "And don't you dare set foot again in this, or any other station for that matter. You are relieved of all duties." "Fine," Esopus said bluntly. He reached into his pocket and tossed the identification booklet at the man, hitting him right between the eyes before he stormed out of the room. "You're done, Van Tonder," Joe shouted, as he rubbed the red spot on his nose where the booklet struck. "You'll never work again in this city." "Shame," said Jooste, who was waiting with his conjoined twin in the corridor. "Looks like the washout has struck out." Smith could barely contain his laughter as he pointed towards Esopus. "Get out of my way," Esopus ordered, as the two men blocked his path to continue their beratement of the older man. Now, said Smith. "There's no need to be rude. After all, isn't it comforting to know that real detectives are working the case now?" Jooste and Smith were giggling away happily as Esopus's rage grew. He balled his fist, and when Smith turned to face him again, he flung his hand forward. It was a strength he hadn't felt in years, and as his knuckles connected with the man's cheek, he could feel the bones crack in a flurry of adrenaline-fueled excitement. Smith had barely hit the floor, and Esopus was already on Jooste. He hit him with a left hook before the man got in a lucky punch to Esopus's gut, and all hell broke loose. Shots were flying, and shouting echoed throughout the halls, before Tabiso appeared to pull the men apart. "You bastard!" Smith shouted, as Tabiso stood his ground between them. "I'll tear you limb from limb." "I'd like to see you try," Esopus said, as he smiled with a bloody grin. Maposa appeared from his office and ordered them to disband immediately, calling the two detectives into his office to have a few stern words. Tabiso had never seen the captain in such a state. He was angry and disappointed. He seemed to be hurting, but hid it behind angry words and blurting out orders. "What happened, Suep?" Tabiso asked, as he led Esopus out of the building. Esopus's heart was still racing, but the adrenaline had subsided. He could sense the throbbing pain in his hand and the trickle of blood running down the side of his mouth. Alive. "Read the newspaper," said Esopus bluntly, before shrugging off the young man and trudging back towards his car.